Let's call this meeting to order. We have before us the consent agenda, which is to approve our proposed agenda, the approval of special board meeting minutes, approval of the last board meeting minutes, approval of the accounts payable, the human resource report, the quarterly transportation report, the Power School Student Management System agreement, and the swimming pool use agreement with the City of Cedar Falls. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Not really a question. Just kind of, I think, just for informational. So the Power School will replace Infinite Campus?
It will.
Is that right?
It will, which will be a much better benefit for us. We've worked with several of our building staff, our biddles, to be able to review this. It just allows us to do so much more than what we can do right now with Infinite Campus, plus hopefully interact with a lot more outside vendors and just streamline the process for our parents. And really the impetus for this was trying to find online registration components, and we just couldn't do it with Infinite Campus. It just was limiting with some of the things that we're looking at, and the way it interfaced with online registration components. It just, we could not find a district where it worked well. And that was kind of the start of the conversation. What do we do to make sure that we can interface well with our parents and be able to justify the time necessary for them to log on to multiple login screens and other aspects with Infinite Campus, and this just kind of continued a discussion to review with other schools what they're using. Power School seems to be very popular, and this isn't really the driving factor, but it's going to save the district about $30,000 over the next 3 years, which is important as well.
Will the transition be pretty easy for staff?
We have a very strong built-in calendar right now on how, when, and where we'll do the training and what we'll kind of put in for a framework. Power School has been very, very good with that as well.
And all the information will transfer in?
All the information will transfer in. We are looking within our school calendar for next year, instead of having potentially 2 days before school, which is mandatory by contract, we'll have potentially a third day that would replace one of our PD days during the school year, to make sure that we have more time right at the beginning of the year. We'll also have trainings during the summer and certainly over the next 4 months before school is out. So there's a lot of components built into making sure that it goes well and goes smoothly.
As a user of Infinite Campus, I'm already impressed with Infinite Campus, so if it's better than that, I like it. But how about getting parents like to transition? Will their old passwords work on the new system, or we got to give everybody...
Actually, you get to choose your own password with Power School, which is so nice, and it goes back to the framework where you can say request password, lost password, and it goes through kind of that updated version where you can input your own data and your own information. So the school is not the distributor of, I don't remember what it is, but it's like a 14-digit password that's unique to each individual. This
I'm
is
thinking
different.
about lunch.
The lunch one is
you
very...
have to copy and paste, and it's a lot of people don't use it.
So will it become single sign-on for all those systems?
That is right now the hope. It's all going to be a single sign up for the way that you would pay with
Lunch, fees,
yep, online registration,
Power School, everything.
Day one maybe not, but as we evolve into this, yes, the capabilities are there, and that was really the driving factor. How do we simplify this for our parents, and also have the connectivity with all the devices that we wanted to have for our student management system, which includes Schoology, which is one of the learning management systems we have at the secondary level, and this runs seamlessly with Schoology as well. It's the right move.
Yeah,
We heard
Sounds
from
great.
PTA groups that was a frustrating thing with all the different logins.
We have a lot of frustration right now, and I think it's kind of grown, and some of it's to reporting and assessments and grade books, and it's just all those components that you need to have in place with a student management system that works well and is seamless, and right now we're just not as seamless as we need to be.
Very good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And I want Dan and Pam to see, because they've been highly involved with this too, and some of the trainings and site visits, so anything that they could chip in or chime in with too. So
I think the single sign-on password is going to be huge for us. And we visited some of the schools, and we're hoping our grade book at the elementary and the reporting system for performance reports are going to tie together. We're going to work on that this spring, and hopefully we'll have something ironed out there too.
Yep.
A lot of possibilities.
Great.
And a lot of schools spoke very positive of Power School.
Excellent. Okay, we've got a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight?
Did not have anybody reply.
Thank you. We do have our student board member here, Michael.
He drove safely here.
did.
How are
Good.
the, how are the roads?
They weren't that bad. Not many people are out. It just drove slowly, and I got here a little bit earlier. So
Is it still snowing?
yeah, it was
Okay.
still coming
Your mother
down.
will
So
be very happy to hear that.
So Student Senate, busy with dance marathon still. We've got hide and go seek approved for a portion of the school building. So, which is I know it's just, we didn't think it would pass, but it did go through with administration. We're going to be partitioning off a portion of the school building near the front of the building, and then all lights will go off, and we'll have glow stick hide and go seek as part of dance marathon. We've hired a DJ. We have the dodgeball tournament planned. And then also we have a fundraiser to put on your calendars. February 19th will be a Village Inn fundraiser. We partnered with them. And on that night from 5 p.m. until close, which is 1 a.m., they will be donating a portion of their sales to our dance marathon total. So we're going to be doing lots of different promotional efforts as it gets closer with getting everybody out in the district and then in the community to eat at Village Inn that night on the 19th of February. Sophomore leadership is busy with Coaches versus Cancer. Still, their fundraiser on the 12th of February. And then also Student Senate and the whole school will be also busy with the specialist Travis Vaughn Memorial, who's killed in Afghanistan in 2007. He graduated from the high school, Cedar Falls High School, in 2007. And every year his family, this is the 8th annual shower of gifts, where they collect toiletry items for the Marshalltown Veterans Home. So they have toiletries, shampoo, deodorant. They have nail polish for some of the female residents there, blankets, socks, t-shirts, anything for the residents there. And we'll be having collection boxes around the high school as well, and then they will also be distributing those around the community. And that goes through February 12th is the last date, because they collect those and then distribute them on the 18th at the Veterans Home in Marshalltown. This past weekend, speech had a great showing. They had 20 Division I ratings at their district competition, so they will all be moving on to the state competition. And then we also had 2 Division II ratings, so speech did very well. And then in sports, men's and women's bowling both won versus Dubuque Senior. And men's and women's basketball all won their games over the past weekend, Friday and Saturday. And then men's swimming placed 7th at the University of Iowa. They had an MVC super meet, and they placed 7th there on Saturday.
And Michael is going to go down to the UEN Lobby Day, February 24th, that the board is invited down to. So we're really excited to have you there, and certainly your voice down at the Capitol, which will be very, very powerful. So we appreciate that.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to that day.
It'll be really good.
Quick question on the Veteran Home fundraiser. When you guys did the food bank, there was a place on Infinite Campus to make a donation. Is that going to be set up for the Veterans Home too?
There is one. The Vaughn family does have a GoFundMe account
Okay.
for that, and I can get in contact with them, and they can work with the high school, and if that is able to put that on the high school webpage or Infinite Campus or however it may work.
Great.
Question.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, the information report tonight is on CAPS update. That'll be, is that Mr. Conrad?
I got someone for
Great.
this one.
I love the logo.
Could be not, or is there another? Here. Just giving you kind of a brochure, but I've also kind of created a short little presentation via PowerPoint that kind of highlights some of the big things as much as what we've been doing up to this point in time. I think most of you may be familiar with the CAPS program. It's what we call the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. It's a program that we are intending to implement starting next year. And I'll try to maybe start just with a little background information. This really started a year and a half or so ago with a visit that we took to Waukee as well as Blue Valley, Kansas. Both of them run a CAPS program. Waukee has now changed their program to what they call Apex, but it pretty much is the same program as the CAPS program. And we're real excited about coming back from that, thinking about some opportunities for some of our students in more of a project-based, real-world opportunity for courses. And so that really started our conversation within the school district and so forth. At the same time, close to that, we visited a program called Iowa Big down in Cedar Rapids, which is a similar type of program, but they have some real marked differences between CAPS and Iowa Big that we just felt philosophically wise in providing our students with more of that hands-on learning in the business world will be a much better environment. So that's why we kind of chosen to look at the CAPS model as opposed to the Iowa Big model. And then we sent out invitations to some of our local businesses last spring, invited them to come and just hear a presentation about CAPS. We had some folks from Waukee came up and were a part of that conversation to give an overview of what the program was and so forth, and try to gauge the interest of some of our businesses within our local community. Because of the positive responses that we got to that, we decided then to start exploring the implementation of a CAPS program starting next year. We identified 3 strands within the program, and that would be engineering, computer science, and information technology. These are some areas that we have quite a bit of interest in from our students, as well as they're more of the high-skilled type of careers out there that we thought we could do a better job of giving our students some more experiences as they move on. We wrote and received a startup grant, thanks to mainly Dr. Pattee, who wrote that grant, and we received that grant, and that really will help us as we move forward. It's helped us already in the planning, in providing some of those funds, and it'll help us as we look at some of the startup costs that we'll have with the CAPS program.
Can I
jump in there?
Yep, and I appreciate the kudos, but it certainly was the foundation more than me that wrote that grant. So we appreciate that from the foundation's work. So it was certainly a great grant to receive, and certainly it helps the startup costs.
Really does. We then met with our chamber and Alliance for their support and assistance in helping us identify some and approaching some businesses to serve as our hosts. And you'll understand the host business a little bit more in a little bit when I talk more about the structure of the program. We also met several times with Hawkeye Community College as well as representatives from UNI to provide them with an overview of what CAPS was and what potential it would be for college credit through the CAPS program, as well as that smooth transition, whether those students transition out to Hawkeye Community College or maybe start at Hawkeye and move to UNI, or even move directly from our school directly to UNI, making sure that the transitions would be smooth as a part of the credit that they would earn through the CAPS program. So what is CAPS? Basically, it's an opportunity for us to provide real-world experiences outside of our regular classroom setting in some of these high-skilled areas. And that, in a nutshell, is basically going on location to offer the courses that we have available. It also then provides a service for those businesses. It's not just we're going to put a bunch of kids in your place of business and teach them the same way we've always taught, but we work as a partnership with those businesses to create projects that would benefit that business that our students could be a part of working with. And so in addition to that, it provides kind of a recruiting tool, if you will, for some of those area businesses as they work to find future employees. And so this gives an opportunity for our students to get in the door to see what life would be like in that particular business setting, the things that they would do on a daily basis, the kind of projects that they would work with, the kind of collaborative skills they would need to work with the people that are there. And at the same time, it's a benefit to those businesses by looking at some things that maybe they don't have the time to work on, or they don't have the resources to work on, that they can have our students work on as well. We just heard today from Waukee that they had one of their their CAPS group of students in one of their businesses just secured a $500,000 project for that business. So amazing the kind of work that students can do that you wouldn't think of it. So really that's kind of what we do, and that's why we call it a win-win for schools as well as the business partners. The structure of the program, really what we're looking at is about 10 or 15 students that would be 11th or 12th grade students that are enrolled in each of those strands. It would be a 3-hour block course for one semester. So it's a pretty big commitment for these students to be able to dedicate 3 hours of their school day to actually be on site at a business. Of course, they'll be earning high school and college credit both for that, but it is a big commitment of time, so students have to have a real interest or passion going into that particular career field. The curriculum would be developed in collaboration with Hawkeye Community College, with our high school staff, as well as the business partners. And that's where when we went down today, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. We spent today down in Waukee visiting with the Des Moines Area Community College staff and Waukee staff. We took representatives from Hawkeye Community College down with us to really just talk about the academic component, the curriculum, the credits, and how that worked from the community college standpoint, from the high school standpoint, from teacher certification, and all those kinds of things to try to get those questions answered. And it was a very successful visit today with them, and I think really energized us again as we came back to really get moving forward with this. Classes, as I said before, would be housed at the host business. So one of the requirements for that business is to have a space large enough for 10 or 15 students plus a teacher to come every day and be able to not only learn some of the soft skills a part of that business, but also work on the projects that they have identified for that particular strand. We again would have a Cedar Falls High School teacher, and somebody in that business would be identified to really team teach the course. They'll be a part of developing the curriculum and then delivering that curriculum to our students. And this is where, and again, in conjunction with the approval that we would get through Hawkeye to meet the qualifications for the curriculum and the credit that they would have. Again, high school and college credit would both be awarded for those as well. So where are we at this point in time? Well, you saw we created a CAPS logo, thanks to Janelle. Really worked diligently on that one, and we found something that we really think is unique, and it fits us pretty well. You do have the overview and the FAQ brochure in front of you, and we've utilized that as we go out and visited with our businesses and so forth to give them a better understanding of what the CAPS are and to answer any questions that they had about the program. We joined the CAPS network, which is a network of schools and businesses across the Midwest that have implemented CAPS programs. And it's already provided us with a wealth of resources and support as we move forward with looking at our first year of implementation. We'll continue to be a part of that as we move through because then it's one of those where we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are a number of schools and CAPS programs out there that already have engineering strands in place, and so we can draw on their expertise in terms of what are they doing and what has worked for them and maybe what hasn't worked for them. We've met multiple times already with the Hawkeye staff to identify, answer questions regarding the curriculum, accreditation, instructor requirements, all those things that as you move forward with offering a concurrent course, the requirements that you have to meet. Again, we traveled to Ankeny today, met with the Waukee and DMAC staff to discuss their process and to seek their advice as we move forward. And we've already met with a number of our local businesses in each of those strands to gauge their potential interest in serving as a host. And I think we're going to be in a good situation because we're going to have more people to choose from than. And it's going to be a difficult decision because we have yet to have somebody slam the door in our face that says we're not interested. So we're really excited about that. as we move forward, Dan, our next step is to actually take some of those potential host businesses along with Hawkeye staff. Will really solidify their commitment to the program as well. Since Waukee is about halfway to Kansas City, we'll just keep right on going and head down to Blue Valley, Kansas, and have an opportunity to really look at what I'd say is the model program in the United States. And they've been at it for about 6 or 7 years, and so they really have a lot of things already in place. And as we envision what our program could look down the road 6, 7 years, that's where we would love to be. And so that's hopefully scheduled for either late February, early March, when we'll take that trip down there. We still have yet to identify our staff that would be a part of this. The instructors, we have to work through their certification, so they're qualified to teach a Hawkeye Community College course, to meet the CTE requirements that there might be in place, and all the things that go along with that. We have to develop the curriculum. We went a long way today in finding out what that process needs to look like and who needs to be involved with that and those kinds of things. And then we need to be able to introduce this to our students and start recruiting students to CAPS. As I mentioned before, it'll need to be a commitment from a lot of kids. It's basically juniors and seniors who will be targeting for this. But when you think about us being on a 7-period day, and 3 to 4 periods are locked in with required courses, how do we fit another 3-period block into their day? And so how do you accommodate music students that are in band or chorus that might have an interest in this? So we're going to have to get a little bit creative in how we can accommodate some of those higher flying students that already are in just about everything you can think of. And then we'll have to work out the details with those businesses in terms of, do you have the space available? What kind of technology do you have available? What kind of projects are going to be needed? How are we going to get the kids there? How are we going to get the kids to their other places? All those logistic things that we'll have to work out with the results of that. So that's our hope as we start next year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that before I stop. But as we look at long term with this, or 2016, 17, and beyond, this is just a starting point for us. We're going to start with those 3 strands with the hope that as we look to years 2, 3, and 4, we want to not only add extended opportunities for students that maybe start in the engineering strand, what can they do next? So if they're in this as a junior, what opportunities do they have as a senior? Can we offer some internship possibilities with them as a senior or beyond, and so forth? So we want to explore those, and then again look at what additional strands. We've already identified with our conversations with you and I, it'd be very appropriate for us to look at a teacher education strand, and how do we work that into that, knowing right now that Hawkeye Community College really doesn't have a teacher prep, intro to pre-teacher prep program as part of their program. So how do we work that? Because we have to, any concurrent credit that we give students has to go through a community college. So we've had those conversations with them. And then of course with the strong medical area that we are in right now, how do we create some of those medical careers as a part of this as well? So we know where we want to go. We think we've got a pretty good start in getting started. Some of the things at this point in time that will probably hold us back are just some of that accreditation stuff that the community college has to go through. That takes time. Every time that they introduce a new course into their curriculum, there's a whole process that they need to go through to get that course approved and fit into their programs. So that was why we really wanted them to talk directly with DMAC today to find out how they've worked that. So as we think about, are we going to be able to implement next fall as we start, or are we going to have to wait until the spring or the second semester? So we still haven't made those final decisions. We know that we think it's very realistic that we'll be able to do this next year, but whether we start it already in August or whether we have to wait until second semester, we're not sure of those timelines yet. And then we'll have continued communication with Hawkeye Community College, with you and I, and as well as with the Waterloo schools. As most of you know, they are really looking at a career center for those. What we're really hoping to avoid are some duplication of programs. And it'd be really neat down the road as we get this off, that if we've got some students from our school that are interested in some of the programs they offer through their career center, that we would send them there. If they've got students that would be interested in our CAPS program, to be able to send students our way. So we started to have some of those initial conversations, but we're going to learn how to walk before we can run, and get our own house in order first, and then we'll talk about what are some future partnerships that we'll have with it. So with that, it's very brief overview. I'd entertain whatever questions that you have. Andy's been very supportive of this as we move forward, and it's been one of his goals, my goals, and our goals for the last couple of years, because it is an area that I think we have a number of students that would really be interested in it, and would benefit greatly as a result of it. And it's another opportunity for us to partner with our business world. And like I said before, we've really been pleased with the reaction that we've received as we go out and talk with those people. They're just really excited about possibilities that they see in these three strands.
It's all about value added. We want to make sure that Dan summed it up well. It's a win-win. So not only is there value to our business and industry, there's a direct value back to our students, and there's so much value that can be added. We can go down all the lists, but it's just unbelievable what this can provide for both entities and especially our students. It's unbelievable what the kids have done down in Blue Valley, what they're doing in Waukee. It's really neat to see when you have that engagement, and it's all about project-based learning and opportunities for kids to really get their hands messy, so to speak, with a project that's going to allow them to deepen their learning, but then again, add value back to that business and industry for that future growth.
I know several years ago, maybe up to 5, the EMC Square program was so, our engineers were very interested in trying to get us going in that.
And unfortunately, the reason I think that part of that wasn't successful is because it had a summer component to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of students couldn't commit to that summer internship piece of it.
Does this have to take place during the school day?
We're going to see how we're going to work with that, because we did talk today with Waukee. They're struggling with the same issue with the 3-period block, and so they've explored the possibility of starting before school, 7:30 in the morning, and then they're only taking up 2 periods of the day, or even at the end of the day. Some of that we have to be flexible with our businesses, and because they may not be ready for us at 7:30 in the morning, or they can't take us after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or those kind of things. So I think we have to work some of those things out.
That is a possibility to go outside of school
I think it
hours,
is,
you
yeah.
think?
Anytime, because we offer some early bird classes now at the high school, but for the right students, those are great things to have. But it also can be a limitation for you, especially if you're looking at some after-school type programs, because of the number of kids that we have in activities and so forth that wouldn't be able to participate. I think we get our biggest bang for a buck if we keep it during our school day. But then again, it's a 3-period commitment for students.
Yeah, it seems like would limit. You got, like you said, the students involved in everything. It's a real limiting factor. Whereas maybe if you lop off the last period of the day and they go until 5 o'clock or something like that, maybe it opens more opportunity.
What kind of certification do our teachers need?
Well, that was real interesting to listen to DMAC, how they tried to get around some of the certification from a college perspective, and yet meeting that. And really, because there's actually 2 sets of requirements that teachers need. There's requirements to teach a high school course, and there's other requirements to teach at a community college level. And so they really are saying, well, we're approaching this as a team approach. And so that business person that's out there, they probably have the requirements to meet the community college, but not the high school. And our high school people have, of course, have the certification to meet the high school, but not the community college. So they say as long as we're team teaching it, then they meet both. And so they can
Okay.
meet both requirements by having 2 people teach it.
But aren't we doing some of that already with the concurrent courses?
In most of our concurrent courses now, our teachers teach it, but they meet the qualifications of the
I
community
see.
college.
Okay. Okay.
The problem that we run into is when you look at a career and technical education course at a community college level, there's a work experience component, 6,000 hours of on-the-job training or work experience that they have to meet. Well,
For the
a lot of
instructor.
our people, for the
Okay.
instructor.
Okay.
So when you think about an engineering strand, well, we don't have too many teachers running around Cedar Falls High School that have been an engineer for 3 years. So they aren't going to probably meet that qualification. So that's why they have to kind of move around a little bit and figure out how can they meet those certifications. And by team teaching it allows them to do that.
Okay.
I think this is fantastic as far as the IT, computer science, engineering. I was trying to think of, as I read through the examples, I think I know some of the businesses you've talked to, but I guess my mind was just trying to think of as well, and maybe this would be encompassed in some of this, and maybe these are all really high tracks, but businesses need welders and they need people to do that type of thing, and that's a different track. And I know we've got welding that happens in the school, but to open up that opportunity, hey, if you want to go and work in a business and weld for 2 hours or 3 hours every afternoon,
Well, and that's where the collaboration with Waterloo Schools comes into play, because those are the kinds of programs that they're really looking at implementing as part of their career center. So even though right now, when we're looking at some strands that are more high skilled, we still have a number of students that maybe want to become welders, and so the experiences that we give them are going to be fairly limited. They can get to our advanced welding, and I think we offer one dual credit welding course. If Waterloo would put in a program like that, they can fund all the equipment they would need and all the different things there, and maybe we only have 1 or 2 students that have that interest. Instead of us trying to create a program for 1 or 2 students, can we send them to their program? Similar to, that they might not have as many students for some of these types of programs, to be able to accept them in here. So, I guess it's an opportunity for us to look at sharing without actually trying to duplicate everything that both of our districts are doing.
Is Waukee doing some of that sharing, or
They
probably
haven't at
Kansas
this
City
point.
they probably
Yeah,
are.
they haven't at this point. You see some of that down in
Yeah.
the other CAPS programs
Yeah.
that they do that.
So
But
probably some state
there's a number
regulations
of
you have to-
schools in especially in the Minneapolis area, where they've had 2 or 3 school districts that have actually come together to form the CAPS program as a 3-school or 4-school partnership. And so their kids are going all over. They offer it for all 4 of their high schools.
So they don't run into the open enrollment criteria and all that.
Not in other states, and it's simply a 2080 agreement. It's part of Iowa code that allows you to kind of do some sharing of student time back and forth, so it's fairly easy to set up. And I think Waukee's hope is to eventually actually have more of a regional academy, but right now they're just solely focused in their second year with their students and their programs.
Yeah, the 2080 agreement's the easy part
Okay.
of this whole thing.
It's really exciting. It's really fun.
What this was triggering, and I don't remember where I heard it, but I was thinking about, I've heard that some school districts do, like, I don't know if it's a J session or something like that, where you end first semester and then you got 2, 3, 4 weeks or something like that, and kind of, hey, that course that you were always interested in taking, or you were interested in exploring that, and you get to do that for a little while, but it's not like you get, you're committing yourself forever. This looks fantastic. Kind of an open question as far as giving students an exposure where maybe it doesn't have to be after school, because it's going to be during classes, and I'm sure you've looked at all different kinds of models.
Well,
Just
we
curious.
even looked at kind of a J-term type of opportunity when when we knew that the legislature was probably going to set us back to when we can start school,
Right.
because of the opportunities to allow our students to finish the first semester before Christmas, and then yet still, and of course now when you do that, what the premise is that you reduce your semester down to about 80 days, and then that gives you about 20 days inside both semesters, and then you do a kind of a mini term where they spend an entire day just on in one course, and the problem is being able to try to schedule 1,100 kids into all these different courses for a full day of doing that. And I know there are some colleges that explore that have that. I think Wartburg actually has a May term.
term.
Yeah. And so we've looked at that, but I just don't think it's feasible, because this is something that a certain select group of students will be interested in and qualify for. When you go with a J term or something like that, that's every student in your school has to be a part of some sort of coursework during that time.
Right.
And I think our essential skills and concepts, when we talked about that, we didn't want to compact down our curriculum where all of a sudden you're trying to condense some of the essential skills and concepts, especially when you look at the Iowa core, and our expectation is to go above and beyond that to make sure we're challenging all of our students at the right levels. We felt that if all of a sudden you take out 8 days of instruction from all of our courses, especially when you're looking at your AP courses and some of your other high-level dual credit courses, that those days are vital to ensure those essential skills and concepts are being met. And it would be a challenge when we started looking at curriculum and what should be and could be taken out, and then the expectation that it's for all kids across the board. It becomes almost a time crunch when you start looking at the number of kids we have in those mandatory slots of APs and dual credits. So it was explored. We really kind of like the concept, but this is now kind of a deeper opportunity to really provide that hands-on learning experiences for kids with really a project-based focus, and it's really a neat program.
Well, as you get along with this, I'm sure you're interacting with businesses, but if I can help you connect with businesses, I have a few that come to mind. So,
Great. Thank you very much, Dan.
Okay.
Culture of excellence, and we're exploring, going beyond what we've traditionally offered. I think this is great. Next on our agenda, we have a resolution to agree to convey some real estate. Doug, would you lead us on that?
I will. This is the boring part of tonight's meeting. If you'll recall, we talked a couple of meetings ago about the city's need to acquire approximately 0.38 of 1 acre for the University Avenue project. And just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, if I can get this to work the way I need it to work. This is a sort of a general picture of, you can see University Avenue with where the new roundabout is going to go on the corner of University and Boulder Drive. And then that, in order for the city to construct that roundabout, they do need a little bit of ground on the district site. Another photograph here that sort of enlarges that a little bit. And so you can see the area in pink is basically the amount of land that the city needs to acquire for that project. You'll notice that there's a yellow dashed line right above the pink shaded area. That indicates where the temporary easement would be. So during the course of the project, they would need that additional amount of space for temporary easement while they're constructing the project, but then once that's done, then it would shrink back down. So that sort of gives you a general idea of what we've been talking about. Let's see, I've got one other thing I wanted to show you. And then what I did is we had John Larson has been working with us, and Mr. Moore, who's the city's attorney, has also been working on this resolution. They put together all the documents for that. You have all those in your board packet, but the actual resolution approving the transfer, we weren't able to get that to you till today, and I apologize about that. That document is laying in front of you, but it it reflects exactly the conversations that we've had previously about this, and it also reflects the agreement which the City of Cedar Falls did approve at their city council meeting a week ago. And so with that, I would entertain any questions. I can tell you on the design part of this, we're moving forward with that. The city is, of course, paying all the costs associated with the design for turning the football fields, for the titling or the stormwater runoff for the reshaped and redesigned fields. And so they're working through all of that. They'll pick up all the costs for that. The district will actually approve the contract for the contractor, and we will then pay the bills, but then we will invoice the city, and the city will reimburse us for those costs. With the exception of the engineering, the city is picking that up front. So it's really a no-cost thing for us, except should we decide to exercise the option to irrigate the entire area that's being redone, and we're having the engineering team work on that as we speak. And when we have those final numbers, we'll get those to you for your consideration.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions?
Well, I just want to say, we were talking about what defines success with the community. I think this is great, the way the community has been willing to work with us and the way the district has worked with the community, and this is a win for everyone. I like the process that's taking place with this.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug.
Any other questions? Do you hear a motion then that we approve this resolution?
I move that the Cedar Falls Community School District approve the agreement for conveyance of real estate, quick claim deed, and temporary easement agreement with the City of Cedar Falls, Iowa, and authorizing and directing President and Secretary to execute documents as presented.
Okay, thank you. Do you hear a second?
Second?
Second. It's been moved and second. We accept this resolution.
We probably should do a roll call.
Okay, let's
Okay.
You do
Dr.
that.
Dr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Hassman?
Aye.
Mrs. Lance?
Aye.
Mrs. Hines?
Aye.
And Dr. Kenyon?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent's report.
Yep, I don't have a whole lot. I was going to give a calendar update real quick. We are looking at the school calendar for next year, just for everybody's information. We do have a process that we have to go through. We have to have a public hearing on a school calendar, so we'll have to actually set a public hearing at one meeting, hold a public hearing at another meeting, and then approve a calendar. We're looking at either August 23rd, 24th, or 25th for a start date. The earliest we can start is August 23rd, as everybody's aware. A couple dates for everybody. ISAB lobby days. We're hoping to go down for the Iowa Association of School Boards lobby day on February 8th. So please let Carrie or I know if you are interested in attending that day. And then the UEN lobby day is February 24th. And again, that will be another day where the largest, roughly 16 districts in the state go down and lobby for the day. And it should be a very powerful day. We've been working with our bond and the tax impact for our bond. I think that was sent out to board members and was also in the paper, I believe, on Sunday. So really trying to make sure that that is fiscally as low as we possibly can get it, as we know, and we've had those discussions. And right now the average tax impact for the average assessed valuation home in Cedar Falls would be about $9 a month. So we're certainly trying to make sure that we have that educational impact, but also keep our taxpayers in mind as we look to the future with what that bond will provide.
Thank you. Would you be able to give him some yeses on these two dates in February, if you would be interested in going?
I'll look at my calendar.
Yep.
Get down with me.
I'll have to look at the calendar.
Yep, just look at the calendar
Okay.
and let me know.
You can put me down for both of them.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
And that is at UEN is the 24th?
24th, correct.
Okay. Because I thought that Michael said the 22nd, but I might have written it down improperly.
I will double check that.
Is that all day on the 24th?
I believe it runs until 1, I think. I'd have to go back and specifically look, but typically what we've done, and they're doing a new format this year, but typically what we've done is it starts around 10. We'll work through the first morning for 2 hours with the legislators going to some committees. We'll do some lunch activities, and we'll finish up a few committees before we transition for the day.
So it is the 24th. on your notes there.
Which is a Wednesday.
Yes, it
Okay,
is the
very good.
24th, correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the board members? Okay. Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Can I ask who seconded, please?
It's
It was-
You
a
can
split
choose
split
between Doug
effort
and I.
here.